What advice did someone give you that changed your life? This works when you're doing something hard, and you hit a wall and you feel like you just can't do it. Sometimes all you actually need to do is leave for a bit and then look at it again with fresh eyes. There was a problem in my math homework one night that I just couldn't get right no matter how many times I tried it. Like I knew there was something wrong with it but I couldn't see what that something was. Then my mom pointed out to me that it was almost 10 o'clock at night and I had been doing math for almost 2 hours straight at that point, so I put it away and went to bed. In the morning, I looked at it again and thought what was wrong with it was immediately obvious. I literally saw it in 2 seconds and thought, why the hell didn't I see that the first 1,000 times? I started training with a baseball team. Baseball is barely existent in my country, and the first time I swung the bat I completely smashed the tee and broke it. I was mortified and thought about it for the rest of the week. I went back the next week and no one mentioned the tee. Everyone was welcoming, and now I hate when there are days I can't go because of work. Same when I started BJJ and got dominated. Embarrassment is the cost of entry. Get over that and you'll have so much fun. You can be the ripest, juiciest peach there is, and there will still be people who don't like peaches. Dita Von Teese used to stress about people liking me or not, stemming from different experiences as a kid. I read this quote and realize that I can be the best I can be, but I'm still not gonna be to everyone's taste, and that's alright. Helped me stress down almost entirely about that. Yeah. I used to read a relationship column circa 2007 that I remember almost nothing about except that one time the advice was something like, you don't like everybody you meet, and it's not fair to expect everybody you meet to like you. Some people will and some people won't, and that's okay. It was a little thing but changed my perspective in a huge way. I had a boss tell me once about someone, they don't like you very well, but that's okay. They don't have to. I had never really considered looking at it that way. I always wanted to be a person that people liked, and mostly people do like me. But I've learned to accept that fact that not everyone will, and as long as I'm not trying to make them dislike me, I'm okay. Be involved, not attached. I had major problems socializing for most of my life. It's way better now, thanks to advice like this. It doesn't mean you have to dominate every conversation, just be more involved. Ask the talking person questions. Repeat what they said in other words to clarify their statements. Ask follow-up questions. Let them know you're actually interested in what they have to say. Making people talk will get you way farther than talking about yourself. Been dating my best friend for 2.5 years and I'm always baffled when people are dating someone they wouldn't be friends with. To me, a romantic relationship is like friendship, just with a much more intense level of intimacy. I'm really puzzled as to why people would make the biggest commitment in their life with someone who's not their favorite person. It'd be like choosing a lifelong career about something you don't really enjoy, or getting something you're not that passionate about tattooed on your face. Good memories can be just as toxic as bad memories. For people in bad friendships, romantic relationships, so many people hold on to the good times in the past, hoping that it'll be like that again. You remember how good things were at the start, and you convince yourself they're not that bad. Remember that one good time, even though at present, you're being treated like shit. But what's in the past has already happened. Your current reality is not that anymore. Good memories can really trap you in bad places if you're not careful. This advice has definitely been a wake-up call to me before. What a fantastic quote. I've in the past been caught up on the better yesterdays, only to find I'm the only one standing there holding onto something that no longer holds any depth or weight to anyone else. Thanks for this. I wish I had heard it sooner in my life, but truly, it brought some important educational lessons my way that I probably had to physically live through to understand. This changed my life. I was always very self-conscious about people looking at me and judging me while I was out in public. Then I realized that I wasn't looking at or judging them. People are just living their own lives and you are a background character. I also figured that it was an arrogant mindset to think that every person is taking time out of their life to focus on me. Or you can be like my old manager and do the following with your direct reports. Go on vacation trips with your report, his wife and 4 kids, accept to be the godmother of another report's first child. Hold quarterly reviews for some reports in your office, for others at restaurant. Hide in other managers' offices where you can both be heard gossiping about everyone through the thin office walls. Apply all of the rules regarding time off, vacation with some employees but let others do whatever the heck they want, etc., etc. Consider what saying yes will cost you: time, energy, money, etc. If you really can't part with what it would cost, then no is a statement of fact, and an act of self-respect. Also, recognize that other people are allowed to be upset or have negative emotions, without it being your job to fix that, even if they say you're the source or reason. Obviously, if you've hurt someone with your words or actions, you should apologize. But if someone's mad at you for not doing them a favor, too bad. You're probably not their only option and they'll just have to learn to solve their own problems. We're each responsible for our own happiness. We can choose to add to the happiness of others, but it's nobody's job to ensure someone else's happiness. Today is only one day in all the days that will ever be, but what will happen in all the other days that ever come can depend on what you do today. I know how fucking stupid this sounds, but thinking of my oral skills requiring grinding, such as in a game, is actually kinda motivating. All I have to do to improve is persistently continue grinding even when it gets boring, frustrating. Unlike in a game, sometimes it's really difficult to grasp what exactly you are working towards. Doctor, a manager at my boring office job questioned my motives for being there, leading me to pivot completely, go back to school, and pursue a career in an industry I'm passionate about. After graduating college, I worked retail and food service for about 5 years before landing a decent paying office gig. I was pretty miserable there, but I always assumed that was the best path to success cause it worked for my dad. I was in my manager's office doing a quarterly review or something and she asked me the classic, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" Since my dad started out as a programmer and worked his way up the corporate ladder, I'd always assumed that was the best way to success and happiness. So I told my manager, "Right, doing what you're doing, I guess." "Why?" she asked. I responded, "Isn't that what you're supposed to do?" And then she dropped a line that literally changed the course of my life. "Is what you want to do, or is it what you're expected to do?" Yeah. I was floored. I was at a loss for words, making that surprised Pikachu face. You know the one. After my review, I went back to my desk and spent the rest of the day thinking about her question. I decided in the following weeks that being an office drone was not what I wanted to do, so finally, at 27, I decided to forge my own path instead of doing what my parents, society expected me to do. I went back to school for media production, didn't finish cause I ran out of money, COVID, and here I am 4 years later with my first production job working teleprompter at a local news station. It's not where I want to end and it's been a long hard few years to get here, but it's the foot in the door job that I've been searching for. I had the same experience. My lab manager when I was doing research during college was a smart guy, a decorated doctor and researcher, and one day he looked at me square inches the face and said, "You're smart but don't seem to know why you're here. What do you want to do with your life?" No adult had ever asked me that before. I'd only been praised for my intelligence and work ethic, which are great traits but not enough for me to live a fulfilling life. For me, it was a huge wake-up call to figure out and work towards what I'm actually interested in. I think about his words on an almost weekly basis as I navigate my career, to help me focus on what the best next step is for me. Stop putting everyone else first. Think about what you need before you try to help anyone else. You have to be selfish and take care of yourself before anyone else, otherwise you'll have nothing left to give others. It's okay to put yourself first. It doesn't mean you don't care about anyone else. My doctor told me that when I broke down to him during a very hard period of my life, I just crumbled in that room the second he said enough about everyone else. How are you doing? I was such a people pleaser and ran myself almost into my grave with it. I always believed if I could make everyone around me happy, I'd be happy too, because then there would be no reason for me to worry I wasn't making anyone happy or proud. But it doesn't work that way. You can't make everyone else happy. You can only do that for yourself, and it's not selfish to put yourself first. It's how you survive and get better. Then I can help the people I want to help. It was helpful in teaching me it wasn't my job to fix other people too. They wouldn't get fixed if they didn't want to be, and I was fighting a losing battle by trying and just bringing myself down with them. It took a long time, so many hard moments, but I'm selfish now and make no apologies for it. To reiterate this, you'll find it in other places. Emergency on a plane. You're told to put your own mask on before helping others. A person drowning is the most dangerous thing in the world because they're panicking so much that they'll grab anything to stay afloat. If you're rescuing someone drowning, they're going to try and kill you. To put it another way, you're no use to anyone dead. It's extreme, but the point is that you can't help anyone or make any meaningful positive impact unless you're in a good place. I'm glad you're doing better. If something is worth doing, it's worth doing badly. At one point in my life I just did not want to do anything because of depression and anxiety, and it sucked. I was brought up to believe if something is worth doing, it's worth doing right. So I decided because I didn't think I could get it right, I wouldn't bother doing anything. I read this, and realized I'd been doing it all wrong. I may not be able to get up and shave and shower and run 2 miles in the morning, but I can get dressed and brush my teeth. That'll do. Reminds me of a scene in one of my favorite TV shows. It goes like this. A man and a woman are arguing. The woman, who is one of the main characters, is very energetic and sometimes annoying. The man, who is the villain's right hand, is more quiet, serious and methodic, a silent killer. They've been put in the same room, something none of them is happy about. Though according to their personalities the man remains silent and the woman grumbles. Their dialogue: man, stop grumbling, I'm getting a headache. Woman, then take a tranquilizer. Man, you should take the tranquilizer. Woman, why? You're the one who has a headache. Man, because if I take it, I will relax, but if you take it, we'll both relax. That's 1-0 for the villain if you ask me. If I think there's something wrong everyone around me, then there's something wrong with me. Been chanting this word every time I feel this way, though others may see it as depressing, not to mention about my current self-esteem. It helps me to not blame others and more saying to myself, what can I do better? The grass is greener on the other side helps me whenever I see other people's lifestyle seems better than I am. The more I learned, the more things I realized I do not know. This helps me question pretty much whenever I learn something. The grass is greener on the other side. I used to envy strangers I would see in the street. If they dressed well, had a good body, seemed confident, or literally did anything that caught my attention, I would imagine a whole extravagant life for them. The first time this quote really sank in, I was hanging out with my friends, a couple, and I was envious about the way they ordered food and drinks without a care in the world. At this point in life my BF and I were on a budget and had been for a while. I thought, wow, they're so lucky they have their life together. But then I noticed the snarky remarks they would make toward each other, the little disapproving looks they would give each other, and how desperate they were to talk to us and our other friends without the other included. I realized my BF and I had something special. We enjoy each other's company, and for us a gathering is a chance for both of us to talk to people. I don't know what their lives were like, but they did have a handful of public fights. From that point forward my whole view changed. So what if she's clearly got money, Maybe she works like crazy and has no real social life. So what if he's ridiculously charming and a social butterfly? Maybe his need to talk to many results in him not having anyone really close to him. Who knows what their life is really like? You know, I think about everything I have and ask myself, would I give this up to have what I was envious of? I know this is meant to make people feel better about finding aspects of adulthood daunting. However, I would definitely amend this to something like everyone feels lost about something. Some people absolutely know what the hell they're doing in given situations and we rely on it daily. Saying they don't would be very worrying to someone who was, for example, about to undergo surgery or be inside a building. Expertise not only exists, but is a foundational part of society. Some people know some things extraordinarily well, and what is more, having something useful that you know extremely well can often be well rewarded. But a world-class surgeon might not have their love life in order. A couple on their 50th year of happy marriage might both have hated their jobs their whole working lives. That steady as a rock architect might dislike their body in the mirror. No one is perfect, but saying that no one knows what they're doing is far too broad and not nearly as comforting as it's intended to be, if you ask me. Short answer: saving for retirement early and as much as you can. Long unnecessary story: when I got my first big boy job after college, I was having dinner with a friend and his parents. His dad asked me about the benefits, specifically 401k and if the employer matched contributions. Friend's dad: is this the most money you've ever made? Me: yeah, by a good margin. FD: put in 10% to retirement. You're never going to miss it. Best advice I ever got. I ignored my 401k for a good 4 or 5 years before I started paying attention to it and increasing my contributions, and if I'm lucky I'll be able to comfortably retire by 55. So many of my coworkers haven't done what I did, and many of the new hires ask for advice. I share the story, but then they tell me they are saving 5 or 6%. Still better than not saving at all. But you gotta make sure you pay yourself first. No one cares about the problem, the only thing that matters is the solution, aka so what? Now what? I would identify a key indicator of the immaturity of my youth as a tendency to focus on blame assignment when shit went wrong. It was most important for me to disassociate myself from a problem and suss out where it went wrong. Turns out, no one really cares about that. What matters is the solution. Change your mindset to be solution-oriented when shit inevitably happens. You change your life. It might seem simple, but when my parents were going through divorce, a lot of nasty stuff was being said, mostly by the maternal side of my family. Think adults trying to trick a bunch of young kids into hating their dad. One day, my father took me aside and told me, "You will hear things from me. You will hear things from your mom, and from others too. Find your own truth." Those words helped me make sense of things in times where I didn't know what to believe, and I still follow that advice to this day. This sounds so dumb, but when they said it, it clicked. I was at office hours with the professor in my freshman year. I didn't do some stuff I needed to do, and he's like, "If you knew you had to do it, why didn't you just do it?" In that instance I realized I had no reason. From then on the discipline kicked in somehow and I started making myself do things I didn't necessarily want to do, and boom, ended up making Dean's List and graduated and had the best grades of my life. You wear a shirt almost all of the time. Stop striving to be happy with how you look with your shirt off and start striving to be happy with how you look with the shirt on. It's silly, but when I was much heavier, I was so self-conscious of how I looked with my shirt off, even though it barely came off around people other than my wife. Over the years of diet and exercise, I am pretty happy with how I look with both my shirt on and off, but when I changed perspective on this, I actually started losing weight and becoming stronger a lot faster. My sister: you can't change people's opinions. You just have to accept it and move on. I sometimes go to my older sister for personal help when it comes to friends. I had this horrible relationship. I went to her for advice, and she gave me a huge speech and a line of advice. I then realized, yeah, I can't really change anyone's opinion, and it's just much more frustrating trying to. Accepting it is better than dwelling on it. Even though the advice didn't help me on the matter I had with my friend, it still helped me drop burdens I had from the past, and helped me accept whatever happened afterwards. People are way more likely to help you if you're the guy who's nice to them. This piece of advice from my dad was said offhandedly about a work situation where some of the administrative clerks were willing to help him out in a jam. But it's stuck with me ever since, because it's true. People aren't going to want to give a hand to the person who's been a dick to them, but if you show yourself to be a decent, kind person over time, they're more willing to help out.